Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Kim from DIY Dream Weddings UK, and I've come to show you the next part of this sequin wedding bouquet, and it's a long project, but we are getting there. So you could probably see that I'm going to do a little bit more sewing just to show you how I filled in, because this is how far we've got, how I filled in the gaps on these sequins, because that's where I left you last time. I said I was going to show you how to fill in the gaps here. Okay, so I've cast this on already. I've put my thread in there. So I'm going to show you how, while I'm chatting to you, how I'm going to fill this in. And I'm doing this with seed beads. Okay, so I'm going to pick up 4 beads. And I hope everybody's well and you enjoyed the last video. Okay, so I'm going to then what I'm going to do is just put my needle through like this. So we're doing exactly the same as we did before, but this time we're just filling in the little gaps, in between the sequins that are already sewn on. And I just decided to do that because I wanted to fill it all in, but you don't have to. If you've got a nice pretty blue felt like this one, you might not want to cover it all up, but I just I got carried away. I got carried away with filling in all the gaps. Okay, so just basically sewing those. I'm going to do one more row here. You could put a couple of sequins down here, but I'm just going to do a couple of rows of beads just to cover, because it's a little bit gappy because I filled the other gaps in. You can see it more. Okay, so this is going to be our sequin wedding bouquet. Right, so if you're new to this channel, I make wedding bouquets from absolute scratch on here, including, as you can see here, including the holder that you would put the flowers on. Okay, so this is our sequin wedding bouquet. So you can see now that most of this is, actually all of it, virtually all of that is filled in, and you don't have to do it to that extent if you don't want to. Okay, it's totally up to you. Okay, so that's going to be the front of our bouquet. Isn't that lovely? I love that. I love that effect. So we're I'm just going to basically just do a little running stitch like I did before, and just basically there we go, just do a few running stitches to keep that in place. And now we're going to get on to the next bit of the project, and I'm going to move this over. I've got the top of the bouquet holder here, and I've cut a hole in it, and I've kind of worked out where the middle is by using this. And as you can see, it is in the middle, sort of, but I might have to make this hole bigger when we put this material on the back. I think we might put this on the back, but I'm not sure. Okay, so this is where your handle would go. So if I can demonstrate quickly, your handle will go in here like that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to stick this on the right way round, preferably. So if you want to go back on the videos, you can see how I made this piece, the top part of the holder, or the handle, whatever you want to call it. I might call it the handle. Okay, right, okay, so it would hold your flowers or whatever. So now what we're going to do, what I thought we'd do is we would glue the smaller parts, or the shorter parts of the material in first. And I don't want to basically, I don't want to I'm going to check that everything's all right on the front here before I do this. There are a few gaps around the edge, but I think you could probably just sew it on anyway, sew other sequins on anyway if you wanted to. So here we go, let's just do this. Okay, I'm going to be brave. I've got some hot glue here, and what I'm going to do is just put some glue on here. So this is the first time I've done this, so it's all experimental, people, it really is. Put some hot glue here, and I'm not going to glue it too near, well, it doesn't matter with this, but with these ones they're shorter, but with the bigger pieces I thought I'd tuck them in and I would cut the longer bits off, because we don't want too much bulk. Once this is all stuck on, we don't want too much bulk. And I have experimented a little bit off camera to see how it will work. Okay, so that is stuck on, so you can see how that's going to eventually work. Okay, so just, you've got to make sure all your sequins are all sewed on properly as well. You don't want them falling off. Okay, so we'll glue that in like that. I just thought if we did it this way, it would sit flatter. Listen to me, I'm not really an expert, but so you can see how that's glued in like that. Okay, and really perhaps we could have done some more sequins on this piece here, but we can sew those on anyway. If we're clever enough, I think we could probably sew some more pieces on, some more little sequins on, just to finish that off. You know, I think we could probably do that. Don't ask me how now, but we probably could. So I'm going to pull that a little bit tight. And like I said, I wish I hadn't put these sequins around the edge, but, you know, taking them off would just mean we'd have to take all of them off, okay, because they're all sort of connected. So then what I'm going to do is just glue this inwards, okay, because we can't cut this where the sequins are. Okay, so we're just going to glue this as flat as we can around the edge here. Okay, just like that. Like, you might have seen me do this with other things, other materials and things, so you can sort of see how that is starting to look there. So we'll do the other side, we'll do this side. Okay, just putting a bit of glue under there and just bring that round like that. Okay, like I said, this is all I'm not quite sure how this is going to work out at the moment, but we'll see how this sits when we've glued it down a little bit. Just trying to make it flat around the edge there. Just turn it over as you're doing it so you can see how that's going to pan out. Okay, and there are ways of tidying these up. If you don't like the way it's finished off, you can always, I think the best thing with this is to, I'm wondering if to cut that as we get into this bit here. I think that's okay. So I'm going to glue this piece in like this. As long as it looks neat at the front, I wouldn't worry about the back for now. We're just going to, she's telling herself, I'm telling myself, you don't want to worry about the back for now. Okay, so just gluing that in so it stays where it is. Okay, let's do this piece. Like that. Okay, we're going to get a bit of a gather in here. Okay, not the sort of gathering you get at a wedding, but okay, it's a little bit loose. I suppose I could have, I haven't glued this top bit. Okay, I didn't really think about this the right way, but it's okay, you can, it still stays in place if we do it this way. Could have glued the top bit in a bit more, perhaps. It's not going to slide around though once it's glued in there. So let's just, it's a little bit slapdash, I know, but so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut this. Well, be careful where you cut this, okay, because you don't want this stitching coming undone, but I'm going to cut some of this off, because we don't really want all of this on here, because the plan is to put some material on the back here. Put something on the back here to cover this up, okay? So we don't need these. This hasn't got any stitching on it, so I'm just going to cut that. Cut these pieces off. Just make sure there's no stitching on the other side. Okay, there's nothing sewn together. Because what you want to do is get rid of this bulk, so that it's not going to stick out when you stick the back on. Okay. Okay, so my other plant, so we've got that all on there now. Okay, I think that's lovely. Look at that, it's amazing. There's probably a better way of doing this, but you know, it's the first time I've done it. So so I'm going to glue that down a bit flatter around here. Just make sure it's all flat around the edge. So we're ready to put our back piece on. Okay. Yeah, just hot glue I'm using here. Okay. You could see, just take off as much of this material as you can, but like I said, you've got to be careful where you cut it, because you don't want everything falling off. So that's neatened it up a bit at the back there, and our handle's going to go in here, and you might be able to see now what's happening a bit more. Okay, so your handle will go in here. It's quite weighty, it's not too weighty, and yeah, so that is where we are with that now. Okay, so it all depends how you're going to do your back as to whether you glue your handle in now. And to be honest with you, what I might do is I might put my handle on. Okay, there are some gaps around the edge, as you can see. There's gaps where there's no sequins around the edge there, so you could cover that up with something, or you could just sew a few more on around the edge there if you're clever enough. Okay, so that is the little teething problems with this design that I've done. So you can see that if you put that on the back there, that's going to be nice and neat underneath. And then perhaps you could add some ribbon. Won't do white, but just to show you, you could probably do some little ribbon, bits of ribbon under here. Okay, for the around the edge of your bouquet. Okay, ribbon loops or whatever you want to decorate that. Okay, so I'm going to, so what I might do with the whole is I probably will actually use my template and do it that way. So what I might do, let me just show you. Not sure if I'll just show you how I'm going to do this. So I think I'm going to, oh, is that going to work? Yeah, just punch a hole in that, and then what I'll do is I'll cut along this. I've got lots of this felt, okay, so it doesn't really matter if I make a mistake on this. So use a piece of scrap material or something that's not going to matter, okay, if you haven't done this before. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is just cut a circle like this. Just cut a circle. Okay, that's a little bit big. Oh, no, that might be all right. Really, you want that to, so I might come back and you could decorate around the edge of that, okay, or you can cut it smaller. I might go away and try that again. I might do with another piece of material, or I might use that, because you're going to see this cardboard here. But I think once you've covered this, you can bring your ribbon, perhaps bring your ribbon on top here, or so you can see how that's kind of going to work. I will glue that all down there, perhaps maybe make that a bit bigger, that circle. So this is just your little teething problems when you're doing this, okay? But you will see how this really does start to fall into place. Okay, so I'm going to be off now. Let me know what you thought about this project so far, and I will see you again in the next one. Don't forget you can like, subscribe to this channel if you like what you see, because you will get more videos just like this one if you subscribe, and it's free as well, and it helps the channel to grow. Yeah, put a little comment below and let me know how you are, and yeah, what you think about this project. Okay then, bye bye for now.